Fuckity 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 guntity fuckity fuckity gunt. There will be a reason as to why that was said later on in the video. But first of all, I would just like to say a couple of things about the footage you're currently watching. The first is, I am immensely bad at this game, apparently. I've just watched the footage back, and I didn't realise how appallingly I had done until I had watched it back. And oh dear lord, have I done appallingly badly. So you get to suffer through that. Secondly, I believe this game is called Gina Sisters or something like that. Meh. It'll be in the description if people are interested in it. I must say, it's a reasonable game, but I probably won't go as far as to say good. There's definitely many better games out there, even side-scrollery, platformy ones that switch between dimensions. So if you want it, links in the description. If you want my honest opinion, probably not worth it. Just saying. Anyway, on with the point of this video. So, the other day at work, a colleague of mine, and I don't know if he wants this story told, so I'm not going to give his name. Let's call him colleague, right? Colleague of mine, who I actually know there's a bit of backstory needed. In the place I work, it's kind of boring and dull, and we like to chat to customers if they're not completely boring and or annoying. You know, just to make the day sort of pass a bit faster, and you know, happy customer, come back and spend more money in general. So, you know, hooray! It all works out. And one of the things that we sell is a robot vacuum cleaner, which is usually bought by lazy people or people buying them as a joke. Or a sort of... When I say people buying them as a joke, I usually mean fairly wealthy people buying them as a joke. People can afford shit. So they are about 100 quid, maybe a bit less, not sure. Nah, doesn't really matter. But they're not very good. They're fairly shit, in all honesty. Maybe turn one direction. Meh. You can't really program it to do much. It's not very powerful sucking. Meh. Anyway, someone ordered one of these online. They came to pick it up in the store, which is fine. That's a thing that they're able to do, and they did this. And when they came along, colleague, as we're going to call him, sort of decided to have a bit of banter with the lady who came to pick it up. It's like, oh, is it for your lazy husband? Never doing any cleaning. But you know, you'd usually spare it to the response of something along the lines of, oh yeah, you've finally found something to replace him. Ha ha ha. Users men don't do any work. You know, that kind of just jargon, jibber jabber. Yeah. No, this was not her response. Her response was, actually, it's for my son, who has cerebral palsy. Now, for those of you who don't know what cerebral palsy is, it is a condition which is degenerate and kind of stops... I think it degrades muscle tissue, so it's hard to do anything. And as you get older, it gets worse. Ah, delicious beer. Made from real beer. It's actually fairly cheap beer. But it is beer. Anyway, the point of this story, I'm getting sidetracked, was, yeah, okay, so, as someone who likes to make people laugh, that's one of those situations where things have completely backfired on you in an unforeseen way. And your only real response is, ah, fuck. And maybe a bit of an apology. But, you know, these things happen. And most people are kind of understanding. It's like, oh, no, it's alright, you didn't know. However, this lady was not one of those people. This lady didn't really seem to say anything else about the situation, bought a thing, and left. The next day, we had an email or a phone call from the head office or the regional manager, I can't remember. It wasn't me who took it, it was my line manager that took it. And that someone had made fun of their disabled relative. I was like, really? Doesn't really sound like anyone in this shop. I mean, we're fairly honest. If someone's like, yeah, so I got bad service from someone who sort of said this would work and it doesn't. I was like, okay, well, what was the item? Some sort of music thing. Crazy man, was that you? I don't know fuck all about music. They were asking questions. I guessed at answers. Well done. Now we have to go in. Now we have to go and fix all this shit. Ooh, I died, man. We're fairly honest with ourselves and one another when it comes to fuck ups. So, and it honestly didn't sound like anything any of us would say, and we say some pretty fucking foul things when we're on the shop floor and have people's earshot. I'd probably say cunt more at work than anywhere else, and this is on a shop where I'm not really supposed to swear at all on the premise. I'm probably not supposed to swear on the premises. I try and do it out in the earshot of customers, and you should get away with it. And we have occasionally sworn on the shop floor in front of customers without realising it. And I think once or twice we've had to make apologies for doing so. But this is beside the point. Either way, this lady had made a complaint that my colleague, had been... It's weird calling him just colleague. My colleague, not yours, mine. Yeah, something. Yes, it made a complaint that my colleague had made fun of her relative, her son, who was disabled. And I was like, wait, hang on, was it cerebral palsy by any chance? Like, yes it was. What do you know about this? Cerebral palsy is not a massively common thing, thankfully. Sort of thing where people have usually heard of it, but often don't know anyone who's affected by it, which is when you get, though they may know someone who's affected by it, but someone rather than several people, for example. It's not like the common cold where everyone knows someone who's had it, and everyone's probably had it at some point. So okay, what was explaining the situation? I explained what I'd heard happen, and I was like, and I was talking to my line manager about it, and we sort of did come to the agreement of, okay, so maybe she was a bit upset and misunderstood things, but you've got to have a bit of a presumption of innocence here. I mean, there's no real way in hell. No way that anyone would have been able to guess that what she was doing was buying this terrible thing for her disabled son. There's no way you can know that unless it is stated, or she came in with some, which she did not. She came in alone. So how the fuck would anyone was supposed to know? Whatever. My point is, and I can't remember where I was going with this. Give me a second. Okay, my point is, it was like, you gotta have a bit of a presumption of innocence. But, okay, let's let's not be hypocritical. Let's assume that she had just had a bad day and had that was just like the tipping point, and she'd made a complaint. So we sort of followed up with head office saying, yeah, look, it's probably a bit of a misunderstanding. This is what happened. And then the head office was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it too much. Here's his number. If you can just give the customer a call and sort of make a formal apology, just explain the situation maybe. And so this happened, and my colleague sort of made an apology to the lady, and she was like, "Nah, whatever," and hung up. Not it's okay, or yeah, I'm sorry for being such a cunt, because she was being a bit of a cunt, complaining about such petty things. Which, like I said, it was like, how the fuck is anyone supposed to know that? And you can't. I'm very much of the opinion that offence is never given, it is only ever taken. For example, I can say the word cunt, and you can go, oh, that's a horrible thing to say, how could you say such a horrible word? I'd be offended by that. I didn't mean to cause you offence, you just happened to be offended by it. Similarly, you can call me a cunt and try and be offensive. In the example of, you swear too much, you're another cunt. And I can choose to be offended by that and go, how dare you call me a cunt? I am a fine, outstanding member of this world and things. You offend me. Or I can just go, meh, whatever. I am a bit of a cunt sometimes. So what? I don't give a shit. And so, as far as I'm concerned, offence is only ever taken, never given. You can try and give it, but it's not necessarily a given that it is given. People can refuse to take offence. And if you can refuse to take offence, it is a very, I'm going to say powerful, I'm not sure if powerful is the right word. It's a very strong position to be in if you can refuse to take offence, because then people sort of lose something. If you can't offend someone, or you've kind of lost a bit of power over them. I'm trying to think, just side note. So yeah, this happened, and I can't remember where I was going with. Yeah, the bitch hung up on him, which I think was a real dickish thing to do. It's like, oh, you didn't treat him with any respect. Well, he's here to apologise, and you hung up on him. How the fuck is that respectful? Either way, some people are assholes. And in fact, the thing, I'm not offended by any of this, but if I had to be offended by any of this, I think the thing I would be offended by would probably be the lack of the presumption of innocence when a joke was being told. Like, the assumption that my colleague was trying to cause offence, rather than the presumption that he was just trying to make a light-hearted joke, which was terrible and backfired. And so if you take, I think, if you take anything away from this, it is always assume the best of people. I tend to do this when reading comments. If I read something and go, well, I can't, I will tend to reread it and try and put myself in their shoes in a way of, could this just be a case of me misinterpreting what they are saying? I try and look at it from pretty much every angle. Particularly, for example, if in this video people have called me a cunt, I would not take that as any particular reason to think that they thought I was a cunt, simply because of the context of this video, where I've probably used the word cunt more than any other time on this channel. In fact, probably more than all other videos on this channel. Honestly, now I've got I've got a dilemma now of what I call the episode. Ooh. Meh. We'll worry about that some other time. So, in other comments, if people say something along the lines of, "Oh my god, you're terrible at this game," do they mean that in a sort of, "Oh my god, you're terrible at this game, it is impossible to watch you because you're so bad it makes me want to rip my eyes out so I'll never see anything so atrocious again"? Or is it, "Oh my god, you're so bad at this game, it's fucking hilarious, I want to see more"? So, you know, there are many different ways of interpreting things. And I always try to assume the best of people. And I encourage you to do the same. Though other times people are just completely and utter cunts, and that is just the end of it. Don't really know why I'm saying this. I just wanted to... I guess I was just so shocked by this lady's... I was just so shocked by this lady that I can't think of words to describe her. Complete lack of empathy, which is ironic given that she was complaining about a lack of empathy. Meh. And with that, I'm going to empathize with the audience and stop you watching me die a million times to the same thing and end the episode. I hope you vaguely enjoyed being semi-entertained, or at least taking something away from this that wasn't my wallet or social security numbers. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.